This is the tiny island of Nauru, once poor and became one of the world's richest tiny islands. How? Believe it or not, because of excrement from birds, particularly seagulls. People of this island compared their luck as if they won a lottery. During this time, most of the citizens bought cars, built big houses, and the government also built hotels, good courses, and even bought an own airline used to deliver imported foods. But then after several years, the once richest tiny island went back to poverty. 70% of the land became inhabitable and farmland became extinct. So how this tiny island became one of the richest countries in the world and went back to poverty several years later? Well, the story of rags to riches. This is what happened to Nara. And then back to riches from rags in a matter of time. Nauru is located at the center of Pacific Ocean. According to scientists, this island became a stopover for those migratory birds. And ever since, this island became habitat of millions of birds, particularly seagulls, and accumulated vast excrement in millions of years. This island is so small that it can be circumnavigated by walking in 6 hours time. With only 8.9% compared to the island of Camiguin in the Philippines. The people of Nauru never thought that the excrement that surrounding them will give them massive wealth and richness. So how? Well, the Germans discovered the use of this guano. They use this as a main ingredient in making fertilizer. Guano is rich in calcium and phosphate. with the high demand of phosphate in agriculture around the world. The Nauru becomes so rich. Year 1906, when the mining started in Nauru. During these times, Nauru accumulated enormous wealth due to the high demand of phosphate all over the world. During the year 1975, Nauru made $2.5 billion. This vast amount was more than enough for the 7,000 population of the island. Due to instant wealth, the people of Nauru acquired luxurious lifestyle. They built big houses, bought several luxurious cars, in every household. Subsequently, the government spent millions building up hotels, golf courses, and even bought an airlines to use to fly imported foods. By the year 1980, Nauru became world's richest little island because of phosphate from Ghana. Several years later, Nauru slowly went back to poverty. It was the year of 80s and 90s when the phosphate was slowly depleted and run out. The government started to resort to borrowing, and their debts were increased in a matter of time. However, people did not realize this. They want to stop living in highs and spending more. The government became corrupt and used their funds to travel. When the government realized it, that they are started to sink, the president asked an advice. The advice was to build a musical theater, which the president obeyed. And they created a show based on the life of Leonardo da Vinci. The cost was whopping $7 million. But unfortunately, the theater was flopped and closed after only several weeks. At this stage, Nauru's economy became worse. In the 90s, internet started to become popular. The government started to look for potential investment strategies, but instead of focusing to their tourism, they published and encouraged investors to invest and build bank in the area for $20,000. But Nauru's bad luck continues because the investors that they think will save them were Russian mobs. was a disaster as the government lost $70 billion. To date, 70% of the land became extinct. Education were affected. High percentage of population lost their jobs. And most of the farmland became extinct. The result is Nauros rely for imported foods from Australia, where mostly burger and pizza, processed foods, spam. It was a disaster to their citizens as most of them developed obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. And according to WHO, Nauru is the highest obese population around the world today. Now, Nauru is full of ruins, rotten cars, and abandoned minings. Once the richest little island in the world is now one of the poorest in the region.